We are now going to do pickup on our pickup sash. These sashes are called in Lithuanian are called rinktinė, which has traditionally been translated as pickup. However, more accurately, rinktinė means selected or chosen. We are going to choose or select which threads we want on the top and which threads we don't want on the top. So we could either take threads from the top layer of the shed and drop them to the bottom layer, or choose design threads from the bottom layer and pick them up to the top layer. And that's where they use the word pickup, but really it's more choosing which threads we want. The easiest to do is to drop threads that we don't want any threads. As you can see here, I have three red design threads, which I'm going to drop. I'm going to drop all three. I take my knife and I go in under the warp, or in between the warp, and then I go and put it over the first red thread, over the second red thread, over the third red thread. So I've dropped all three red threads. I make the shed clear again, pass my shuttle, change the shed, beat it down, and again we're going to drop all four red threads. As I say, dropping is the easy part. Again, you take your knife, you go in underneath the threads, you go over the first red thread, over the second red thread, over the third red thread, and over the fourth red thread. And then again you turn your knife, make sure everybody who's going down is down, pass my shuttle, change my shed, and beat it down. So that's very easy. To drop a thread is easy. To pick up a thread is a little harder. We have to find one on the bottom, down here, and pick it up so he comes and is shown on the top. If you remember how we put together the warp, there are two white threads for every, or background threads, two white background threads for every red design thread. And if you'll notice on this diagram that for every red thread, the two background threads that are beside it are on the different side of the shed. So if the red thread is on the top layer of the shed, the two background threads that are on either side of it are on the bottom, and vice versa. So if we want to pick up a red thread, we go between the two background threads that are on either side of the red thread. So we open up between, here we're going to pick up this thread here. We split the two background threads, and in the space that we see, if you can see, right in the middle, and we take our knife from either in the bottom and we pick it up. And there it is, the one red thread from the two. So we've picked up that one. Again, we want to pick up the next red thread. We divide two background threads. We then see the red design thread. You lift it with the knife and picked it up. So we picked up threads 3 and 5. And then we pass our shuttle, change our shed, and beat it down. One doesn't show here. Again, we're going to pick up Oops, we dropped one. So here, unfortunately, we dropped one thread. We forgot to pick it up. Anyway, so here we go again. We're going to pick up all the threads. So we're going to, here we have threads 1, 3, 5, and 7. And we're going to pick up 2, 4, and 6. So we know that they are in between the two background threads. You open up the two background threads. You pick up the red thread that is there. This would be thread 6. We want to get now the next thread, which is 4. We separate the two background threads. Separate the two background threads. And in that space, we see the one red thread. We pick it up on our knife and bring it to the top. And we do that one more time for thread number 2. Again, we separate the two background threads. And in doing so, we see the red, missed it. We separate the two background threads. And in that space, we see the one red thread. And we then go in and pick up that one red thread and pick it up to the top. So now we have all 7 threads up on the top. We pass our shuttle. We change our shed. And we beat it down. And as you can see, we have all the threads are now shown in our design. Again, if we want to pick up all the colors, we're going to pick, now we have 2, 4, and 6 on the top of our warp, on the top half of our warp, and 1, 3, 5, and 7 are on the bottom. So again, we go to the 2 background threads, we open them up, and in between we see the red thread right here, and with our knife we pick it up. Then we go to, that was thread 7. Now here's, we do it the same for thread 5. We separate the 2 background threads. We see the red thread, and we take our knife, and we pick it up. And we now have to do that. We've now picked up 7 and 5. So we're going to pick up thread 3. Again, we separate the 2 background threads. In between, we see the red thread, the design thread, which we pick up the design thread. And we pick up now thread number 1. Again, we separate the 2 background threads. In that space, we see our red design thread. We pick it up. And now we have all 7 threads again up on top. So we've picked up all 7 threads, and we pass our shuttle. Oops, we made a mistake there. And we change our shed. And we beat it down. And we're going to do it again. So we have the 4 threads on top. We're going to pick up threads 2, 4, and 6. So we open up the 2 background threads. We see our red design thread. There he is. So we pick him up with the knife. And that was thread 6. Now we get thread 4. Again, we go between the two background threads. We find our design thread on the bottom and we pick him up. So that's thread 4. Now we're going to pick up thread 2. Separate the two background threads, find the red design thread, and pick it up. And we pass the shuttle. And we change our shed. And we beat it down. And as you can see, we have all the threads are on the top. We get a full line here. So this pickup technique is basically making a selection or a choice of which sled threads from the top of the warp, half of the warp, we want to drop down to the bottom, and which ones on the bottom we want to pick up to the top. And that explains the technique. Dropping them is easy. Picking them up is a little harder, and you follow your pattern of which threads you want up and which ones you want down.